Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt a sense of awe? A feeling of being so small in something so vast. For millennia, humanity has gazed at the stars, charting their movements, telling stories about them, and trying to understand our place among them. For most of human history, one idea seemed unshakable. The universe, in its grand and majestic beauty, was static. It was fixed, eternal, and unchanging. This was the prevailing view of the greatest minds, from the ancient Greek philosophers to the scientific titans of the early 20th century, including Albert Einstein himself. The idea of a static cosmos was so deeply ingrained in scientific thought that it was considered a fundamental truth. But what if I told you that over 1,400 years ago, in the heart of the Arabian desert, a message was revealed that directly challenged this ancient belief? A single verse, delivered to a man who could neither read nor write, that described the universe in a way modern science would only begin to comprehend in the last century. Let's journey back in time, not just centuries, but over a millennium, to 7th century Arabia. This was a world without telescopes, without advanced mathematics, without any of the tools we now use to probe the cosmos. Knowledge of the heavens was based on what the naked eye could see. The stars were beautiful lights in a fixed dome, and the universe was a grand, but ultimately unchanging, stage. It was in this setting that the Qur'an was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Amidst verses guiding human morality, law, and spirituality, there are passages that speak of the natural world, the mountains, the oceans, the cycle of life, and the cosmos. One of these verses, found in a chapter named Ad-Dariyat, or the Winnowing Winds, contains a stunning description of the heavens. Verse 47 of this chapter reads, Wasama, abanaina baidin wain, lamosio. On the translation is what we'll explore today. Our common English rendering is, and the heaven we constructed with strength, and indeed, we are its expanders. Let's pause and really consider that last word. Musu'an in Arabic, this word comes from the root vavsinain, which carries the meaning of making something wider, more spacious, or expanding it. The form musu'un is an active participle, which in Arabic grammar denotes an ongoing, continuous action. So, a more dynamic and literal translation isn't just that God expanded the universe in the past, but that we are continuously expanding it. It describes an active, present, and ongoing process. For centuries, Muslim scholars and commentators contemplated this verse. Given the scientific understanding of their times, many interpreted it in terms of God's vast power and ability to provide, His vastness and generosity. This was a perfectly valid and beautiful interpretation within their historical context. But the language of the verse held a potential for a literal meaning that was simply beyond the scope of their scientific reality. The idea of the physical heavens literally growing, stretching, and expanding was unimaginable. The verse was there, preserved for centuries, waiting for human knowledge to catch up. Now, let's fast forward to the early 20th century. The scientific community was confident in its model of a static universe. In 1915, Albert Einstein published his groundbreaking theory of general relativity, which described gravity as a curvature of spacetime. But his equations presented a problem. They suggested that the universe should either be expanding or contracting. It couldn't be static. This so contradicted the established view that Einstein felt he must have made a mistake. To fix his equations and force them to describe a static universe, he introduced a concept he called the cosmological constant. It was a fudge factor, a mathematical patch to make reality fit the prevailing theory. He later called this the biggest blunder of his life. The first real crack in the static universe model came from an American astronomer named Vestos in the 1910s, while studying the light from distant spiral nebulae, which we now know are other galaxies. He noticed something peculiar. The light from most of them was redshifted. Think of the Doppler effect with sound. When an ambulance siren moves toward you, the pitch is higher. As it moves away, the pitch drops lower. Light behaves similarly. Light from an object moving away from us is stretched, shifting its wavelength toward the red end of the spectrum. Slipher's observations showed that most galaxies were speeding away from us. But the true breakthrough came in 1929 with the work of Edwin Hubble. Using the powerful Hooker telescope at Mount Wilson Observatory, Hubble was able to measure the distances to these galaxies. When he plotted their distance against their redshift, he discovered a stunning relationship. The farther away a galaxy was, the faster it was receding from us. The conclusion was inescapable. The universe was not static. It was expanding. Imagine the shockwaves this sent through the scientific world. The foundations of cosmology were shaken. The entire fabric of space itself was stretching, carrying galaxies along with it like raisins in a rising loaf of bread. Einstein's blunder was no blunder at all. His original equations had been correct. He had predicted the expanding universe before it was ever observed. This discovery, born from meticulous observation and mathematical rigor, is now a cornerstone of modern cosmology. It's the foundation of the Big Bang theory, which posits that the universe began from an incredibly hot, dense state and has been expanding and cooling ever since. Scientists can now measure this expansion with incredible precision using data from space telescopes, like the Hubble and James Webb. It is an established, observable, and measurable fact about the reality we inhabit. Now, let's bring these two stories together. On one hand, we have the scientific journey, a long-held belief in a static universe, challenged by Einstein's equations, and ultimately shattered by the observational evidence of Edwin Hubble, a discovery that reshaped our entire understanding of the cosmos, all happening within the last 100 years. On the other hand, we have a verse from the Qur'an, Rabieled, over 1,400 years ago in the desert, and the heaven we constructed with strength, and indeed, we are continuously expanding it. The Arabic Lamusi Oyun doesn't just mean vast, it specifically implies an active, ongoing expansion. How could a 7th century text describe, with such linguistic precision, a fundamental concept of 21st century cosmology? A concept that was not only unknown, but would have been considered absurd to the most brilliant minds for the next 13 centuries. This wasn't a vague or ambiguous poetic metaphor that could be interpreted in 100 different ways. The language is specific. The word for heaven, Sama, refers to the entire cosmos above us. The word for constructed, Binenaha, implies a powerful and deliberate act of building. And the final, crucial word, Musyun, denotes a continuous, active expansion. The congruence is not just startling, it's profound. Could this be a coincidence? One could argue that any ancient text contains passages that, with enough creativity, could be made to fit modern science. But here, the description is not retrofitted. The most direct and powerful linguistic meaning of the verse aligns perfectly with one of the most significant scientific discoveries of all time. This raises a fundamental question. Where did this information come from? How could the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, have known this? He had no telescope. He had no knowledge of general relativity or spectroscopy. He lived in a time and place where the very idea was inconceivable. The Qur'an itself offers an answer. It repeatedly states that it is a revelation from the creator of the heavens and the earth. It claims its author is the same one who initiated the universe and is orchestrating its cosmic destiny. From this perspective, the verse is not a prediction. It's a description, a statement of fact from the being who made it so. It's as if the artist signed his masterpiece, not with a name, but with a piece of knowledge that could only be fully appreciated by a much later generation, equipped with the tools to see the truth for themselves. It serves as a sign, a fingerprint left for us to discover, pointing back to its divine origin. Whether you are a person of faith, a skeptic, or simply a curious mind, the parallel is undeniable and worthy of deep reflection. Do you think that a truth about our universe, which took humanity thousands of years of intellectual struggle and technological advancement to uncover, was stated so clearly in a book from the 7th century? It invites us to ask bigger questions about the nature of knowledge, revelation, and our place in this vast and ever-expanding universe. What other signs might be waiting to be understood? What other layers of meaning are hidden in plain sight, waiting for the moment our understanding is ready to receive them? The cosmos is a book filled with wonders, and perhaps, just perhaps, we were given a guide to reading it a very long time ago. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through time and space. If this story made you think and wonder, please hit that like button. Share it with someone who appreciates the mysteries of the universe, and subscribe for more content that explores the intersection of faith, science, and history. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep looking up.